To stir up a hornet's nest, the end of this video is going to make some people mad. There's a number of historical errors in this commenter's statement and subsequent comments, but they provide a teaching opportunity. In love, of course. This comment came to a response video I posted rebutting a ridiculous claim that the Vatican removed 14 books of the Bible in 1684. But in the comments, and to a companion video I made, some folks cloud up terms such as apocrypha, apocryphal, and pseudepigraphical, so I need to clear them up, and what that means when we read the Bible. First, the Bible is not one static book. It's a collection of books that, dependent on tradition, can and do change. That's a fact. And this video touches on books that at one time were a part of the Bible's history in some way, or pay attention to the or part before you lose your mind. Some traditions considered for inclusion and were like, nope, or yes. I got a long way to go in 3 minutes. The term apocrypha means hidden away and refers to a collection of writings that were at one time held in esteem, then tolerated, and then excluded. What's considered an apocryphal text depends on your religious tradition. For instance, the Book of Enoch is not considered part of the Apocrypha by Protestants, but is apocryphal for Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, and canon by Eritrean Christians. Confused yet? Don't worry, I'll clear it up. While apocryphal works have existed, such as Enoch, for 2,000 or so years, we're going to start with the first titled Apocrypha, that of the Protestant Church. When Luther translated the Bible into German in 1534, his was the first major, not the first, but the first major Bible to have a titled Apocrypha, using Jerome's 5th century argument that non-Masoretic Old Testament books were disputable, placing them in a separate section. Note also that Luther disputed the validity of 4 New Testament books, Hebrews, James, Jude, and Revelation, and he placed them at the end of the New Testament instead of where they are placed today. And obviously I'm not talking about Revelation here because that still shows up at the back of the Bible. In 1546, the Catholic Church's Council of Trent, they defined numerous books that Luther listed as apocrypha as canon. And in 1592, Pope Clement VIII revised the Vulgate, moving 3 books from the Old Testament into an appendix, the Prayer of Manasseh and 3 and 4 Esdras. The publication of the Protestant King James Bible in 1611 followed Luther's lead and published a titled Apocrypha, which contained 1 and 2 Esdras, Tobit, Judith, the rest of Esther, Wisdom, Ecclesiasticus, Baruch and the Epistle of Jeremy, Song of the Three Children, the story of Susanna, Bel and the Dragon, the Prayer of Manasseh, and 1 and 2 Maccabees. This is why some Protestants will claim some books such as Enoch or Jubilees aren't apocryphal because they aren't in the titled Apocrypha. But while Enoch and Jubilees aren't in the printed Luther and KJV Apocrypha, they are considered apocryphal by certain elements of the Catholic and Orthodox faiths. During the Puritan Revolution and the British Civil Wars, the Protestant view of sola scriptura rose high, and it's here that the Apocrypha really started to lose favor in the Protestant Church, as these books, they weren't considered of divine inspiration, thus having no authority, and Protestant Bibles not linked to the Anglican Church began to exclude these books, and by 1885, and due to printing costs, the titled Apocrypha was omitted. So what's considered Apocrypha really depends on which belief system you ascribe to. Now on to pseudepigraphical works, and here's where the fur flies. These are the texts whose claimed author is not the actual author, and most of them are thought to have been written between 300 BC and 300 AD. And these books are 3 and 4 Maccabees, Assumption of Moses, 1 and 2 Book of Enoch, Jubilees, 3 Baruch, Letter of Aristes, Life of Adam and Eve, Ascension of Isaiah, the Psalm of Solomon, Sibylline Oracles, 2 Baruch, the Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, and 4 Ezra. Personally, out of all these, the Book of Enoch is the most fascinating, as Enoch was well known during Jesus' day, with Aramaic fragments found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in Greek and Latin. In other words, it's been around a long time. It was also quoted in the Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs and cited in Jude. Early church fathers such as Justin Martyr, Athenagoras, Irenaeus, Clement, Origen, Tertullian, and Lactantius spoke highly of Enoch. It fell out of favor, however, with the rise of amillennialism, and this is when it was kind of jettisoned. However, it is still considered canon by Ethiopian Jews and Eritrean Christians. Therefore, some consider it apocryphal, but not part of the Protestant Apocrypha. Like I said, personally, I enjoy the Book of Enoch, but is it authoritative? No way! Enoch did not write it, and because it's pseudepigraphical, non-scholars suggest that's a reason to toss it. But that opens a huge can of worms. Now, I'm not suggesting we include Enoch in canon. I'm not doing that. There's too many questions about the book. But when you argue something should be tossed because it's pseudepigraphical, you're in trouble, because a number of canonical works fall into the pseudepigraphical category. like the book of Daniel, which was written hundreds of years after the Babylonian exile. A number of Paul's letters, which may have been written by Paul's disciples in Paul's name. Ephesians, Colossians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 and 2 Timothy, and Titus. In the New Testament, there's also James, Jude, and Revelation, and Hebrews, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, which were written anonymously. So all this to say, pseudoepigraphical doesn't mean not divinely inspired. But what is divinely inspired is completely dependent upon the faith tradition that you ascribe to. I know this was a big one, so comments, leave them.